Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your latest instalment of the Gersnet Weekly Podcast, hosted by myself, Craig Gray. We are the independent Rangers podcast made for fans by fans, and all of our content is absolutely free. You can get us over at gersnet.co.uk, where you can see a forum, some good articles that have been put up lately, and also a fabulous history archive. And you can get us over on Twitter at Gersnet Online as well. Before I introduce my guest for this evening, just like to give a shout out to one of our main sponsors, Forrest Precision Engineering. They are a subcontract Glasgow-based engineering company, and they've been a big commercial supporter of Rangers for many years. We're absolutely delighted that they're backing your pod. You can get them over at forrestprecisioneng.com, and you can also visit the Forrest Precision Executive Lounge, a stunning new hospitality area within the historic main stand. For information on how to book this unique and intimate space, you can email the club via hospitality@rangers.co.uk. So I'm joined here tonight by Ben Harshaw to review the Hearts game yesterday. Ben, I'd say how you doing, but I think you're probably in the same mood as me and everybody else, just a bit scunnered.
I mate, exactly. That sums it up perfectly. I'm ready for a Sunday night therapy session here with yourself. So yeah, it's trying not to be too negative, but it's hard at this minute in time to be anything but really.
Oh no, you can be as negative as you want on here. Don't worry, we don't happy clap on Gersnet. We're no the happy clappers. But obviously started the season off yesterday. Try and get the positivity out of the way first. Okay, we kept a clean sheet, and we're also a point better off than we were this time last season. So fair enough. We'll put that out of the way. That's all the positivity done for the night. The lineup. I wanted to start with that, Ben. There was one new player in from the end of last season. Proper, according to the manager, he never had his clearance through. We'll make it out what you will, but we'll just take his word on that one. And Dale, so he said before that he wasn't going to start Chernley, so kind of the same old in terms of the team. Only difference really from the end of last season was Connor Barron in the middle of the park. But do you think it was the right lineup initially when you seen it?
No, I don't have to be honest. I was surprised. I think what I would have done, what I expected, are two different things. I didn't expect the manager to play proper, whether his clearance was through or not, because he's consistently, one thing since he's come through, he's always said a player, whether it's come back from injuries or it's a new signing, he has always talked about they must train, they must do this amount before they play. So I didn't expect him to play. Cherney, I think, is a different story. I would expect a player like that that's been in the building over a week to be in a position where he should be able to come in and start, especially given the circumstances where we were. I mean, if he's coming in and he's got real competition there, fair enough, you might say, okay, well, he's only in, but he's basically got little or no competition on the right wing. So I expected him to play without a doubt. And then the other thing was, I certainly would have been playing Balogun over Ben Davies. In fact, I'd go as far as to say I wouldn't have ever played Ben Davies again.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'd never rated Ben Davies, to be quite honest. And my figuring that's never ever going to change, probably. To be honest, though, when Balogun came on, he looked like a bit of a bomb scare himself. So it's like, it just shows the position that we're in, really. But I think, I would much rather that Balogun started. 100% agree with you on the Cherney matter as well. He's been in the building, as you say, for over a week. He's had a week's worth of training to build up his fitness and whatnot. And I mean, the guy's been at the Euros. He's had pre-seat, all this, that, and the next thing. It's not as if he's been sitting on the couch for the last 2 months doing nothing. So he should be able to come in to a game like that. And it is one thing that does annoy me about the manager, is that I don't know if it's a fear or whatever of just throwing players into the mix. Sometimes you just need to do it. And it's annoying because now, knowing that he's kind of like that, even if we do get the signings in the next few weeks that we want, realistically, going by how the manager starts and plays these guys, they're probably not going to be up to speed for maybe 3, 4 or however many weeks after that. So that's a massive concern. And we've already dropped points yesterday, and we're now at a point where it's damage limitation, and we've got 2 league games anyway before Parkhead at the start of September, and we're in a position now where we quite simply cannot drop any more points before then.
No, I mean, I get it in a way. In an ideal world, you're going to want your players. You're going to want your players in the first day of pre-season and that. But we aren't in an ideal world. We're in this situation right now, and you've got to say the players that he's signing, he's obviously signing them. He said he wants to make additions that are going to come into the team. So he's signing players that he feels and we hope are better than what is already there. So you've got to say, even if Tierney was at 60%, 65%, is that not better than a Scott Wright at 80 or whatever it is? I mean, we're not going to, if Tierney had come in from the start yesterday and, as I say, he was 60, 50, whatever percent ready and wasn't at his best, some may, but the majority of us aren't going to go, oh, he's useless, and judge him completely on that one game. But it's the fact that he's allegedly the quality player that it could have been 1 minute, 1 moment, one shot, one cross, one opportunity there that could have gotten us 3 points yesterday rather than just the one. So I do get that this is the way he wants to be, but maybe he needs to be a bit braver, and maybe he needs to take the risk of playing a player before he deems him to be completely ready. I understand if somebody's not fit and they're injured, you're not going to take a risk on them. But at the end of the day, if they're able to give us something, then let's see them.
No, I agree. No, I agree. I think just on Cherny as well, I think it actually puts him under a wee bit more pressure when you're bringing him on with was it 20 minutes to go or something like that yesterday when we're drawing 0-0, you need a goal. So he's immediately under even more pressure than you already are as a Rangers player coming into it. Whereas, if he starts, he builds up 60 minutes or something like that and he's been okay. See if he had like Scott Wright's performance yesterday for the time he was on the pitch. I think fans would have just went, he was okay, he didn't do anything wrong, he's building up his fitness, etc. But I think putting him in a situation with 20 minutes to go where you're looking at him and you're saying, right, we need you to change this game. And, I also think as well, Scott Wright, for all his flaws, he's actually not too bad as an impact sub. I think that is when he is at his best. It's like, and that's kind of been the theme with Scott Wright at Rangers. He might come off the bench for a couple of games and he'll do enough to merit a start. And then he'll get his start. He'll be rubbish when he starts. And then, he won't feature again for a couple of weeks. And then he'll come off the bench again. He'll do well. And then he'll be started again after that and do nothing. And it's just rinse and repeat with him. So I don't really think you get much out of starting Scott Wright. Ross McCausland, I was a bit surprised and shocked really that he wasn't in the squad at all, because as far as we're led to believe, there's no injury issues or anything like that. So what was your thoughts on that, Ben? I was a wee bit perplexed that he wasn't even on the bench.
Yeah, I was very surprised at it myself. And I was wondering, did the manager, well, I mean, it would indicate that he does view Scott Wright ahead of him in the pecking order at this minute in time. But that's certainly not something I would agree with. And yes, I am a little bit biased given his nationality and all that. But I think he certainly has a part to play and can make an impact. I agree with you what you're saying there about Scott Wright. I actually, I think Scott Wright is better than many say, shall we say. I think he, as a squad player and as somebody who comes on, I don't want to see him starting games other than maybe games in cup against a lower division team or something like that. But I do think that he has made impacts from the bench before, and I don't know if that's because his pace against the tireder legs is more effective. But I do think he can have a role within the squad, but I think it needs to be utilised in the right way, and I think that is off the bench. But yeah, the McCausland one was a surprise. I mean, even if you look at towards the end of last season, he ended the season well, a couple of goals, I think, in the split. He seemed, the one thing you'll get from him is he will run and he'll run and he'll run, and he gives absolutely everything when he's on, which is something that we can question of some players at times. He will make a mistake here and there. He is raw, he is young, but there's no doubt that there is talent in there and he can create something. And has shown that he can score goals, and we aren't looking like we're going to create a whole lot elsewhere at this minute in time. So yeah, when I looked at the bench yesterday, for example, I looked at our bench and I thought, like, if we're not winning this game with 20 minutes to go, is there much on there? Once Tierney was on, say, is there much on that? You're bringing Darrell on at a point, you're going, is he going to win us this game? And no is the answer, to be honest.
No, you're spot on. in terms of the start of the game, Hearts came flying out the traps, which, I mean, fair enough. You kind of expected them to do that. They're buoyant from the last season. At the moment, they've held on to Shankland. A lot of their fans seem to think that they can challenge the old firm coming this season. I don't believe it, but that's fair enough for them thinking that. That's fine. So they were always going to be up for it. Rangers coming to town, first game of the season and whatnot. But for me, the first half was extremely concerning. I kind of did expect that start from Hearts, and they had a couple of half chances. Shankland had one that was fairly comfortable save, and the one that I think Hearts probably should have scored was that one with Penrice when he basically just outpaced Tav, and I think if he had sat across Butland, it's a goal, but he kind of hits it sort of straight at him and luckily goes out. But I was kind of saying to myself, like, just let the game settle down, 10, 15 minutes and we'll grow into it. We didn't grow into the game until the second half, and that was a big concern for me because, I mean, I expected this maybe, as I say, after 10, 15 minutes, we'll get the ball down, we'll start playing a bit of football, we'll create one or two chances, and we did create a chance. Dessers had his chance with that amazing touch, and he tries to chip the keeper, but that was something out of nothing. That wasn't because of a great bit of play. It was a long ball up, he takes the touch and he chips it over. So that first half performance, considering, you've got players in there that are supposedly wanting to fight for the future, guys that, you're thinking that they've got a point to prove. It was just the same old, and it was a real concern, that first half performance for me, Ben.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt. I mean, it was concerning, but wasn't surprising, to be honest, because as we talked about earlier, it's the same players for the most part, and you're getting the same results from them. You're getting the same performance from them. We lack ideas, we lack creativity, which is not what you should be seeing at the start of the season. As you say, yes, you'd expect Hearts to come out. If I was a Hearts fan or involved with Hearts, I would be looking at Rangers coming and saying they look vulnerable right now. All the pre-season we've had, all the talk, the unrest, the stadium, everything. So you expect them to come out at us, but you also expect a Rangers team to come out and go, right, we're here to boss this. We're here to control it. You're not gonna dictate this game, but we just kind of passive is the word, but it's kind of when you look at the spine of the team, that for the most part you've got a centre forward that can hold the ball up very well. You've got Ben Davies is the most passive centre half I've ever seen. And he can be barged off the ball. And as soon as you let a team like Hearts start to dictate it like that, and they realise they can win the physical battle from the start, they're going to get up. The fans are going to get up, and then it sets the tone for the game. And it did for that first half. The only good thing to come out of the first half is that we managed to go in 0-0. And I was surprised, there wasn't changes really at halftime. But then again, you come along and you say, like I said already, was there a whole lot on the bench? And it's an indictment on our squad in general. At this minute in time, and I know it's not finished. I know that we're going to make more signings and all, but the season started, so we need to have started, and we kind of haven't yet, which is concerning.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think passive is probably the word that does sum it up. And you mentioned Ben Davies there, having Tav, I think in particular in that first half, very, very poor. One thing that really does annoy me is that, like, we seem to be playing the same tactic, and we've done it not just Clement, it's been for like the last, since Tav has been at the club. It's pass the ball about midfield, put it to Tav, he'll put in a cross, and it doesn't matter who's in the middle. It could be Morelos, Itten, Roof, Sakala, Dessers, Cholak, Lama. It could be anyone in the box, and it's kind of like, I don't mind doing that. Like, it worked. I think it worked when Morelos was there, because you've seen the amount of headed goals Morelos scored, and crossing the balls in with our fullbacks was a big part of our game. I just think with the fullbacks, decisive, you seen that. I think there was a moment in the second half where the ball manages to break to him, and then he's in the box, and instead of just drilling it across on the ground, he tries to actually cross it in the air and look for somebody's head. where it's like if you just draw it across the ground, it could hit off anybody and go in. So I think maybe that there is an unnatural balance with the fullbacks. I mentioned it yesterday on Twitter, and I said on Friday, I mean, look, I don't think he should be playing for us anymore, but we're in the position that we're in. But he's just so immobile now, and the concern is this is something that it's not just like, oh, he's been poor today against Hearts, yesterday against Hearts, and it's a one-off. See this consistently time and time again, and even on Friday actually, I seen a clip from when Hearts beat us 2-0 in like 2016 or something like that, and somebody said, look where both the goals come from. It's like Taverneau picking up his man, and it's like 8 years later, things just haven't changed. And I don't know what we do with that situation because his supposed successor Sterling, he's got his injury issues. Not only that, he's better in the midfield, in my opinion. And I would only play him at right back, unless it was if it was a necessity. The challenge is if we do sell Tav, we're going to need to bring in not just a squad right back, but a starting right back that can play that many games, and it's a very, very difficult market. But yesterday, I mean, he was at fault for me for that chance that Penrice had. It could have so easily led to a Hearts goal. There was a number of times that he was letting the likes of Penrice and even Barry Mackay, who he was playing with a few years ago in a terrible Rangers team, get the better of him. And it's just, you just feel it's such a loss now because you're kind of like, what's happening. It's been, for me, a progressive and gradual decline over probably the last year. I mean, I remember game we beat Motherwell last year under Beale was one of Beale's last games. We won 1-0. The goal deflected off Dessers, and you could see Tav just wasn't at the races. He lost that yard of pace. He was immobile, kind of what we seen towards the end of the season. He did, when Clement came in, have a bit of a boost like every player, and then he's just went back to his old self now when the chips are down. And for me, it's just too many mistakes, the same thing happening over and over again. But it's just one of those situations where you just feel like a total loss with it now, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that's it. For me, his confidence is completely shot now too. He has lost his legs a bit, and he is only going in one direction. There's no doubt about that. I'm probably further towards leaving than I was maybe a few weeks ago. However, I would still probably wouldn't be devastated if he was still there come the end of the transfer window. But he needs real competition and needs to be challenged for the place. And yes, Sterling's good enough to do it, but I see everyone saying, "Oh, never play Tav again." Like there's nobody else to rely on, because Sterling's great. But I agree. I think he's needed in the midfield at this minute in time. But also he's needed to be fit. And on what we've seen from him so far, you might get him 3 out of every 7 games or something like that. But he has not proven that he can be consistently fit. So if Tav was to leave tomorrow, we've got half a right back, because we've no one to challenge Sterling, yes, and we don't have Sterling on a regular basis, which is a concern. So the Tav, I agree with you with the Penrice thing. The only thing that I would say that he did do one thing really well, and I think he stopped a certain goal when their fullback, actually, who had a good game, Taylor, got forward and then and basically went past Ridvan like he wasn't there, and then laid the ball off to Shankland, and only that Tav had basically covered from the other fullback. He got something onto it. Otherwise, it was going to be a goal, and it deflected, and it was easily dealt with. So that's the only thing I will give him credit for. But yeah, it's he is doing the same. He's making the same mistakes as he was. There's always been talk of him not being good enough defensively. But the fact that he was able to do what he was doing going forward maybe masked it more and more, and that's not happening anymore. So we're now just seeing the frailties more and more and more, which is a huge concern. But we shouldn't be still in the position where we're relying on him and only him. That's bigger than Tav. That's a club problem. That's the fact that you're talking about him playing with Barry Mackay all those years ago. We haven't addressed that situation. We haven't given him proper competition. And had a healthy enough squad And any squad that's trying to win any title and play in Europe needs competition in every place. You need two starters in every position, and we're far, far, far from that.
You're right. I mean, I think the only time we maybe had some sort of competition was when, like, our first season back, and I think Hodgson was kind of challenging him and he was dropped a couple of times. But I mean, that was Pedro who was doing that for the most part, who was just a nutcase. But certainly since he's got the captaincy, he's not had any competition. The closest he's came to competition was Nathan Patterson, but he never played over him. He only played when Tab was injured for a wee bit. And that's probably partly why Patterson moved to Everton as well, because he just knew that he wasn't going to get a game ahead of Tab, so there's no point in me staying. Plus, I think the club probably forced him out when they got that bid in for him. But um, you're right, you need competition in every place. You know, it's not good for, and this is not just in football, but life in general, and business or whatever. You know, if you're not constantly pushing for the best and trying to get the best out of each other, you know, it's not a healthy position to be in. I mean, the only other one we've got there is Adam Devine. I mean, I think he's okay, but you know, we're yet to see if he can sort of do it over a prolonged period of time and be you know, an able deputy. But if you look at some of the guys that were signed to sort of play behind him, I remember that Polish guy, Zukowski. I think he played one game. To be honest, I can't. Sterling, I suppose, but obviously he's been moved position really. Apart from that, I don't even actually remember signing any or many right backs, so it's a concern. But you know, at the moment, it's just something that we're going to have to get on with. You know, there's no point in sitting moaning about it all the time if we're just going to get fed it time and time again. Dessers, obviously, we need to come on to him, Ben. The enigma continues, doesn't it? Three massive chances. You could actually say for all three he's desperately unlucky, but I think for the first one especially, like, I don't know what's possessed him to chip that when he's like 5 yards away for the goal, and the goalkeeper's right in front of him. So it's either one or the other. Like, you're either putting it into Rose head or the goalie's clearly going to save it. Just try and hit it under him. Created another chance, he was unlucky, and then obviously that one that kind of hit the bar in the post. But it actually looked as if that just touched Kai Rose, I think, of Hearts. So it's like, I mean, that is just unlucky. But you know, I think the second one, but that first one especially, you're just like, oh, come on. I mean, he is one of these players. I've just kind of accepted the way that Dessers is, to be honest. You love to hate him and you hate to love him. It's you know, it's such a weird one. Never fault the guy's effort. And it's so difficult because he does the difficult things, you know. I put in our notes there, obviously the good comparison is Lawrence Shankland, and a lot of people will say, you know, if Shankland was playing yesterday, he would have won the game, he would have taken no chances, which is possibly true. I don't doubt that Shankland is a better finisher. The issue is, would Shankland have created the chances that Dessers created? For the most part, no. Maybe the last one that's hit the post, but again, that was unlucky. I mean, you know, it could have happened to anyone. So I don't know. I think the whole Shankland versus Dessers argument that's been going about for a while, and it was obviously going to come to a head after playing Hearts yesterday. It's an interesting one, but for me, it's not quite as simple as saying if we had Shankland, we would do this, and if we had Dessers, because I think you've got Dessers' sort of overall play, which I actually think Dessers' overall play is better than Shankland. I think he creates more than Shankland, but Shankland is, you know, a finisher. He's a killer on the ball when it comes to him. If we could find a perfect blend of the both of them, where you can create the chances, you can also take them, that would be brilliant. The issue is the market that we're in for players. It's probably going to be one or the other. It's like, when you actually think about it, we've never really signed a striker that's had all the attributes. Of course, you can say Morelos, but it took Morelos a couple of years to build up to that striker. You know, he wasn't anywhere near the finished article when he came in. You know, we've seen guys like Roof who's shown his quality, but he's got injuries. Cedric Hitton had his wants as well, but he was pretty immobile himself. Dessers couldn't finish his dinner. Sakala couldn't finish his dinner, but he was fast. So it's like we've signed strikers and forward players that are very good at certain things, but then also lacking other areas as well. And the guy's just an absolute enigma at times. But what was your thoughts on him yesterday and that overall scenario with the striker at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, enigma is exactly the word. There's no doubt. Dessers is a funny one. To me, he's not going to win you the title. You know, Dessers will score goals. Wherever he goes, he will score goals. But equally, he will miss chances. I mean, he's brilliant for that. That touch to create that first chance is brilliant. The touch for the one where he cut in and then hit it straight at the keeper. I can't remember if it was the second or the third chance, but it was in the first half as well. And his touch again and his movement to create that, to find the space, was brilliant. But then the finish is straight at the keeper, or that first one, you have to hit that down. How there's no, I mean, I'm no genius mathematically, but the angle is not possible to chip a keeper from there. Like, it's just, there's no space there to do it. And I know it's easy sitting here, and I know he's doing it, you know, in a split second. But like, you've got to hit that down from where you are. There's no doubt about that. He's never scoring from the way he tries to take it. My thing with Dessers is, as I said, he will score goals, but for every goal he scores, he will have missed 5 chances. And we, you know, that's okay if we're playing Ross County at home, something like that, because others will get chances and they will take them. But when we're playing in Europe, when we're playing, you know, in the Old Firm, we may only get 1-2 chances, and we can't afford to have a number 9 who's going to take, you know, 4 before he's warmed up to put the ball in the net. That's not a recipe for success. And that, you know, what you said there, you hit the nail on the head when you said you've come to accept that this is Dessers and that's what he's going to be, and that's right. It is what it is. He's not going to change now, you know, at his age and what he is. But we need to move past that. Then we need to, as a club, do something about that and have a better option. Again, I would like to see him move on. However, if he was there as an option, I would be saying that's fine to bring him on. But the only scenario that I would be bringing on a Cyril Dessers is if you're already 2-0 up, 3-0 up, because I don't want to bring him on when it's 1-1, because if we get that one big chance, I don't have any faith whatsoever that he's taking it. Or if we, you know, we are 1-0 up and they equalise and you're left with just Dessers on, yes, he may score 2, but he may equally miss 3 chances and you may draw the game. And we need to have, and I know it's easier said than done, but we need to have somebody that we can rely on, that is going to consistently take chances, that's going to win you enough games. And if we all ask ourselves, is Cyril Dessers that man? I can't see how anyone can make a case to say that he is.
I think it's an interesting point you made there about him, like, coming off the bench, because off the top of my head, I think when he has came off the bench and scored goals, it has been, like you've said, when we've been a couple of goals up. Like, I remember he scored in Clemont's first game against Hibs at Ibrox. He scored against Hibs away when we were 2-0 up. There's another couple sort of like that. So it seems to be any time he comes off the bench, he does make an impact most of the time, but it's always when we're like 2 or 3 up. He has scored some pretty big goals for us, but that only seems to happen when he starts and he's in, you know, a real vein of form, which is rare. But the guy's just a complete enigma. And you know, like I said, it's just, you know, I've just accepted it as the way it is. I mean, we obviously need to talk about it, but we just feel like we're repeating ourselves constantly, time and time again. Not just with Dessers, by the way, but with several players here. And you're kind of just at a point where you're like, do we really need to just keep saying the same things? But yeah, we do, because we've not got anything else to say. So we need to keep repeating ourselves. Something that is a bit new, however, was the manager's comments after the game. And a few people have been getting on his back about it, about when he basically said that we missed John Lundstrom. I did find it a bit weird at first, although the way that Clement is, and I know this from being at some press conferences with him, he is very direct in what he says. And his English is incredibly good, but at the same time, there are maybe ways that he phrases things that we wouldn't phrase things, and you've maybe got to keep that in mind. I think people have maybe taken it a wee bit out of context. I think when he says we miss John Lundstrom, I think he basically means that we miss a number 6, and he's just name checked John Lundstrom because he's the only person that's done that for him. And plus as well, I mean, we had 3 years of John Lundstrom, right? And we knew what he was like, but Clement only had him for 6 months. And for 4 of those 6 months, Lundstrom was brilliant for him. Lundstrom only tailed off towards the end under Clement. So for the times that Rangers have been good under Clement, he has only known Rangers being good when John Lundstrom has been playing there. So, you can kind of understand why he said it as well, but for me, I mentioned it on Friday, we desperately, desperately need a number 6 to come in. Not just any number 6 though, Ben. For me, it needs to be someone experienced. And people have said it before, and I think they're absolutely right. We've not replaced Stephen Davis. We need a deep line playmaker, someone that's experienced, someone to carry the midfield. We seem to have signed one of Clement's generals at the back and proper. And for me, we now need one in the midfield as well.
Yeah, well, firstly on the Lundstrom thing, I think I would assume that he is what you're saying there. I would assume that he is saying we need that type of player, and we're missing that type of player. Because if he is specifically saying that he's missing Lundstrom, it is concerning. Because Lundstrom is one of a number of players to have left the club last summer or this summer. And I can easily say there's not one player that has left the club this summer that I regret or that I wish did not leave the club. And that obviously includes him. And then also, if Lundstrom is such an important player for us and for Clement, I would question then, the most important game of last season was the cup final. Lundstrom was fit and available, and Clement only brought him on. And I rightly, in my opinion, only brought him on for the last couple of minutes. But surely if he was such an important player at that stage, fit and available to Clement would have started him, would have played him then. So I think what he means is he wants that type of player, and I'm hoping that is the case. And we do badly need that type of player. There's no doubt we haven't replaced Devo. I mean, you can't replace the irreplaceable, in my opinion. However, we need to make some attempt at that and try that. And that is only going to help the rest of the midfield as well, to have somebody in there. And I think what you said was key. It needs to be someone experienced, because you've got your Diamande in there, who I'm impressed with, and I think is growing and will grow into a good player for us. Barron equally so. But they're both young and they're both inexperienced. So we need some experience within that midfield. I think it's telling almost in a way also that, going back to Proper coming in, I heard a lot of people saying, oh, he's too old, but we needed experience. We really lacked experience. We lacked leadership. And I think throughout your spine of the team, you need to have that. And the midfield, obviously, well, for me, is where any game is won and lost. So yeah, no, we definitely need that type of player. And I very, very much hope that type of player is imminently coming in before it's too late and before further points are dropped or European qualification is gone and such.
Yeah, the thing is, though, like we mentioned earlier, even if one was to come in on Tuesday night just before we play Dynamo Kyiv, the chances of him being up to scratch, even for the Motherwell game next week, are slim to none. They'll probably train for about 2 weeks and they might get named on the bench, and then they'll come on for 5 minutes if they're winning 4-0, and then, before you know it, the first big game that they could be available for is like the Old Firm game, and then you're weighing up the decision, do we throw them into that one or not, and it's kind of sort of over the place. So, Mr. Clement, if we are going to sign a number 6, just stick him right into the team if you can, please. Or if he's not capable of going right into the team, just don't sign him. I think it's fairly simple. You slightly mentioned it there. We'll leave the Hearts game then, because I don't want to depress all the viewers at home even further. But we do have a massive game on Tuesday, which is kind of just crept up on us. it's a really weird feeling going into this. I mean, normally these European games, you're going in pure buzzing. I think dread might be the word that a lot of people are using going into this game on Tuesday. And it's a weird one because, I mean, I mentioned it on Friday. I'm not being disrespectful. I don't think, but Dynamo Kyiv, I think the only player that I know from them is Yarmolenko. I think they used to play for West Ham, and you know they have done very well. I mean, they absolutely battled Partizan Belgrade in the last round. So, um, they're clearly good at scoring goals, which is bad for us. But it's kind of an unknown entity, which can work for you. But known Rangers that I've known in European competition, when you come up against a team that you've never heard of before, that's normally when trouble starts, Ben.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Bringing back some wonderful memories there. No, I'm concerned, as you might have got from all the other comments so far this evening, but it's coming too early for us. Normally, and even last season, we made our signings, I suppose, relatively early. The problem was that those signings weren't good enough, but we didn't know at that stage. We had your Lammers, we had your Dessers and stuff in, and they were involved in pre-season. And when we were going in as a team, the only one that was kind of coming in, I think it was against Servette, was Cifuentes was only in the building, I think, and sort of was thrown in a wee bit in those games. But the rest had been sort of playing together and training together. And this team is very much a new team and a quite a fragile team. We are at this minute in time. And especially as again, going back to the same point with the manager's reluctance to try new players, it kind of makes you think, oh, it's going to be the same old. And I'm not hopeful. I hope to be pleasantly surprised. But I can't say anything other than I think it is going to come too soon for us. The only thing that we need to be trying to do is go to that first leg and keep the tie low, keep the tie alive, excuse me, and try and gain some confidence as a team by going out and getting a credible result. And if this was a normal situation, I would say it's not a favourable draw. It's still a difficult draw, but it is a draw that I would have taken in normal circumstances if we were the Rangers that we expect us to be, and going into a game with confidence and looking to be the dominant team. But no, I am apprehensive, shall we say?
Yeah, I think we all are. This is going to be quite a unique tie because neither side are going to be playing in their home stadium, which, I mean, I don't know. We'll get the football historians to maybe tell us otherwise, but I've never seen that before, ever. So, I think the stadium we're playing in Poland next week holds 15,000. There'll be tons of Rangers fans that travel over anyway. I'm sure they'll be enjoying the cheap booze over there, but it's not as if it's going to be, if we were playing in Kiev under normal circumstances, they're playing in their 60, 70,000 seater stadium. It's a proper atmosphere to be in, but I don't quite think it's going to have the same effect on Tuesday. I doubt very much the stadium will be full of Kiev fans anyway, so I think that is something we can maybe try and use to the advantage. Although we're not playing at Ibrox, it's going to be 50,000 Rangers fans at Hampden. So, whether that's at Hampden or wherever, when there's 50,000 of your own behind you, that's got to spur the team on. I just done a wee check as well there to see how they got on this weekend. The Ukrainian FA have actually postponed their games because they're participating in the Champions League. So it's nice when your football authorities support the clubs that are doing well in Europe, isn't it?
Yes, I wouldn't know, so I couldn't tell you that. But yeah, no, it's interesting to see that they actually support their teams. Like we've seen before in Dutch leagues and now in Ukrainian leagues, but never in ours. But anyway, I think it's an interesting point. It's not one that I actually really thought of, is the fact that I knew obviously that they weren't at home, but I hadn't really thought of it. Yeah, there is a good chance, and we will bring a good contingent as we always do. But the fact that it won't be full of their fans, I would imagine, given what's going on with the Ukraine. So yeah, it is a chance. It's a chance for us to go out there and try and impose ourselves. But again, we need to then expect to do that. We need to have the players to do that, and we need to step up. And hopefully we can and we will. If we were to get a draw and bring it back, I would bite your hand off at this minute in time. But also what you're saying there in terms of, yes, it isn't Ibrox. We know that we're coming back to Hampden, but this is we need to now just get used to the idea that this is our home games now. There's no point in having this excuse every time. Oh, we're not at home. We're at Hampden, because it's going to be for the foreseeable. And 50,000 Rangers fans can make noise whether it's in a local park or whether it's in Ibrox or whether it's in Hampden. So I will make noise. So I expect us to use that to our advantage. I just hope, as I've said, that we are in a position where it will count and it can count.
Yeah. Lastly, before we finish up, then just want to talk about a potential starting 11 then on Tuesday. Do we foresee many changes? Well, first of all, we don't know what's happened with Oscar Cortez. We never actually mentioned him earlier, but obviously he's got his injury. We'll find out on Monday, I would imagine, when Clement does his press conference, how long he'll be out for. But I wouldn't imagine he'll be starting the game. I think I've just been told there that he's getting a scan tomorrow, so we might not even have an update tomorrow. So I think he'll definitely be at the game on Tuesday anyway. Then it's kind of, what do you do? Do you start Matondo on the left? That's probably the only guy that you can pick. Do you continue with Scott Wright, or do you play Cherney? In the midfield as well, Tom Lawrence isn't going to start. We know that because he can't play 2 games in a week. So do you bring in Kieran Dowell, who, arguably can't do much himself? Or if Stelling's fit, do you move him into the midfield? I think originally I would have moved Stelling into midfield alongside Barron, have Diamande play a bit further up, but to be quite honest, I'm that concerned over Tavernier's performances at the moment that I think if Stelling's fit, I would honestly play him at right back and either just go with Dowell or Lawrence, because even Kieran Dowell, he might not be the best player in the world, but if he makes a mistake, the chances are it's not going to directly lead to us conceding a goal. Whereas if it happens with Tav, the chances are that it probably will. So if it was me, to be honest, I would probably do that, but I can't see that happening. I think the manager will probably stick with Tav at right back, and if he's fit, move Stelling into midfield and push Diamande a wee bit further up.
Yeah, what I expect to happen, again without knowing the fitness wise, I expect the manager to do what you've just said, and I think Tav will stay there, and I think Sterling will come into the midfield. Particularly because I think we're going to be under the cost quite a bit, and we're going to want that sort of steel in the midfield and the compactness. But yeah, it obviously leaves me with concerns defensively with Tav as well. And not only that, with Tav, I also think, as we know, we missed the friendlies other than the final one against Union Berlin. So I think he's still probably not at fitness-wise the stage to be playing 2 games within such a short space of time as well. So that's another concern. I wouldn't anticipate that Ben Davies plays at the back. I would think that Balogun will come in if he doesn't deem proper to be ready. I think you're at the stage now where almost what have you got to lose? Proper, again, it comes back to that old one. Is a 70% proper not better than 100% Ben Davies or Balogun at this point? I think it's an indictment on our defence and on our squad that I'm clamouring for Balogun at his age to be still starting. I think he's good to have in the squad and from a leadership point of view, but he should be nowhere near starting a game like this, of this magnitude. But we are where we are. I wonder also, does he look at the likes of Darrell even playing on the left? Because I'm saying Cortez will not. We don't know, but I've said there's literally no chance of him being available for that game. So I'm wondering, does he play him on the left just to give us more defensive cover really than anything. So he can sort of drop into the middle as well. I don't know if he'll do that or he'll still look at playing one of the wingers and playing Matondo. Again, you play Matondo, do you really expect a whole lot from him? No, I think it's the answer. I think he is what he is. He can produce moments, but they're few and far between, to be honest. Lawrence can't play, I don't think. Again, when's the last time you've ever seen him start 2 games in a row, let alone 2 games within such a short space of time just after pre-season? So it's difficult. It's difficult to sort of to pick an 11 from and pick an 11 that you really think is going to go out there and do the job from the players that we have available at this minute in time. I would possibly go for like of McCausland on one wing and Cherney on the other, and just try and see if McCausland's pace and cutting in, even if he is played on the left rather than the right, can achieve something. Or again, he could have an injury that we don't know about, but we haven't heard anything from that. And again, there's only one striker really fit and available. So again, we're going to have to play Dessers. But this talking about this, it's just highlighting what we already know. We badly need to invest in this squad and add quality, not just quantity. Because right now, to be honest, do we have a squad that should be playing in the Champions League? And there's only one answer to that, and it's not a good one from our point of view. So yeah, no, I mean, one last thing I wanted to ask you is not to go back totally onto the Hearts game, but we went into the game. The only thing that surprised me from the game is that we didn't concede based on our preseason. But the one thing is, right now, and this scares me to think about this, but would you say that we have a stronger squad, player to player, or Hearts have a stronger squad? Because there's not much in it.
Oh, than Hearts, we've got a stronger squad than Hearts. Aye, I'd say so.
I think it's closer than some people think. I mean, no, I think we have better individual players, but when I looked at Hearts' bench of what they could bring on, when I looked at what we could bring on, I probably would have rather had their bench at times than yesterday than what we had. So I think for squad, I don't think individual team, I think they're better, but I think in terms of they have improved their 11 and they have improved their bench. And at this minute in time, I don't know what we've done.
Yeah, I mean, it is a question that's been going around. Like, have we improved from last season anyway? And I done a wee sort of comparison on Twitter comparing the game against Kelly to what could have been the starting 11 for us against Hearts, which I got dramatically incorrect. So thanks, Phil, for that. But I mean, it was negligible. Put it that way, whether we were stronger or not, and that's the issue. We can't just be negligible every year in terms of, we might be strong, we might not be. We need to be stronger every year. Whether we've got a better squad than Hearts, that will play out over the season. I do suspect we will finish higher than Hearts, and we will, do a lot better than them. I mean, we should be going for the league, and I think when we do get our reinforcements in, I'm confident in the manager that we can go and challenge properly this season. But like you said, mate, we really, really need to make that investment in the squad, because right now, if we're going into the rest of the season with a squad, then all of our worst nightmares could become a reality. So we really, really do need to invest in the squad. We're no stupid, and we know that if we don't, then the possibilities could be really, really dire in terms of what's happening. But try and look at the positives. Game on Tuesday. Last time we played in Poland, we won 2-0 against Lech Poznan. So we'll hang on and cling on to any hope that we can going into this game on Tuesday. Saying earlier in the bookies we were 2-1. Dynamo Kyiv are just about even. So considering our record in Europe the last few years and their record in Europe, I think that kind of tells you everything. If we are, 2-1 and they're the favourites at just around evens, but we'll hope for the best result. But I think that's a good time to wrap up there anyway, guys. We'll be back on Friday to review the Dynamo Kyiv game and look ahead to our first home match of the season at Hampden against Motherwell, and that'll be Brian and Scott that bring that next Friday. So all that's left for me to do is thank my guests for coming on. Ben, thanks for coming on, mate. Been a pleasure.
Cheers, enjoyed it. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. And thanks to the guests at home. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.